What if a single ship could circle the entire planet without ever stopping for fuel? These aren't science fiction. These are real. And today, we count down the 15 most powerful nuclear vessels ever built. From cautionary tales to machines that literally rewrote the rules of warfare. Number 15. Japan. 1974. A nation determined to prove it had mastered the atom. The Mutsu was Japan's bold statement to the world, a nuclear-powered research and cargo ship designed to show that atomic propulsion wasn't just for weapons. But here's where the story takes a turn. On its very first power-up at sea, radiation leaked. It wasn't catastrophic, no injuries, no explosion. But in a country that had survived Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the word radiation carried a weight that no government press release could neutralize. Local fishermen, fearing their catches would be poisoned, launched something almost unbelievable, a floating blockade. Dozens of small fishing boats surrounded the Mutsu, refusing to let it return to port for weeks. The ship was shuffled from harbor to harbor. Nobody wanted it. It never carried a single paying cargo. Eventually, its reactor was ripped out, and it was rebuilt as an ordinary diesel vessel. The Mutsu isn't a success story. It's something more valuable. It's a warning. Nuclear power at sea demands not just engineering, it demands public trust. And once that trust breaks, no reactor in the world can fix it. Number 14 is arguably the most beautiful ship ever powered by the atom. The NS Savannah. It was President Eisenhower's dream made steel. His Atoms for Peace program wanted to show the world that nuclear energy wasn't just a bomb. It was a future. And what better way to prove it than a ship? The Savannah didn't look like a freighter. It looked like something from a Hollywood movie. Swept curves, gleaming white paint, passenger cabins, a swimming pool, a proper dining room. It stretched over 180 meters and carried inside it a single load of uranium, a few hundred pounds, that could power it across oceans for hundreds of thousands of miles. A conventional ship doing the same work would have burned tens of millions of gallons of fuel oil on energy alone. It was a masterpiece, but the Savannah had a fatal flaw. It was never actually designed to make money. Half passenger liner, half cargo ship, brilliant at neither. Its crew was a third larger than normal. Its running costs demanded government subsidies just to stay afloat financially. It was retired after just a few years. But here's the thing. The Savannah was never really about cargo. It was diplomacy, a floating exhibit, a dream painted white, sent across the Atlantic to say, the future is peaceful. And for that, it is unforgettable. Number 13. While America was building showpieces, the Soviet Union was solving a real problem. The Northern Sea Route, along the top of Siberia, was the USSR's critical artery. Enormous reserves of minerals, oil, and timber locked behind thousands of miles of Arctic ice. Conventional icebreakers burned fuel at a terrifying rate. They couldn't work for long without returning to port. Enter the NS Lenin, the world's first nuclear-powered surface ship, the world's first nuclear-powered civilian vessel, and the Soviet Union's answer to the frozen North. Its reactor gave it something no icebreaker had ever had before. Near-limitless endurance. It could grind through Arctic pack ice for months without refueling. It led thousands of vessels safely through passages that would have been impassable otherwise. Over its lifetime, it covered approximately 650,000 nautical miles, more than 3 times the distance from the Earth to the Moon. It wasn't perfect. In the 1960s, reactor accidents forced engineers to tear out its entire power plant and rebuild it from scratch, but it pressed on for 3 decades. Today, the Lenin sits preserved as a museum in Murmansk, wood-paneled wardrooms, a library, a bathhouse, a window into Soviet life at sea, and the ancestor of an entire dynasty of nuclear icebreakers that Russia still operates today. Number 12 is the last of a dying breed. And somehow, against all odds, It's still alive. The Submarine entered service at the end of the 1980s as something genuinely unusual. A hybrid, over 200 meters long. It was built as both a heavy cargo carrier, capable of hauling containers, and an icebreaker, with a specially reinforced bow designed to crunch through frozen Arctic Sea. Its entire reason for existing was the northern sea route, delivering cargo and heavy equipment to isolated Arctic outposts where no conventional ship could reach. When the Soviet Union collapsed, the Submarine nearly died with it. Funding vanished. It was almost scrapped, but Russia's Arctic ambitions never faded, and the ship was eventually refurbished and returned to service. Right now, today, this ship is still running on nuclear power, more than 3 decades after it was launched. Every other nuclear cargo vessel in history has been retired or scrapped. The Submarine alone survived. It is a lone ghost from an abandoned era of nuclear merchant shipping. Or, depending on who you ask, it might be the forerunner of what comes next, if the world ever decides to give nuclear cargo ships another serious chance. Number 11 is perhaps the most unexpected vessel on this entire list. Its name translates to 50 Years of Victory, built to mark the anniversary of the end of World War II in Europe. Construction started in the late 1980s, collapsed with Soviet funding, and took nearly 20 years to complete. It finally entered service in 2007. On paper, it's a heavy nuclear icebreaker. Its hull is coated in a special low-friction polymer. Its reactors give it the raw power to grind through ice that would stop anything else cold. But here's the collision of worlds that makes the 50-let poverty extraordinary. During the Arctic summer, it sells tickets. That's right. This Cold War-engineered nuclear monster doubles as a cruise ship. Passengers get proper cabins, a dining room, a small pool. They watch the ship crush ice beneath their feet. They take helicopter flights over the frozen ocean, and then, in a ceremony that defies imagination, they stand on the geographic North Pole itself, drink champagne, and if they're brave enough, jump into the Arctic Ocean. Nuclear icebreaker by winter, floating adventure park by summer. Only in Russia. Number 10. If the 50-let poverty is Russia's past, then the new Arctica is Russia's future. And it is enormous. Delivered in 2020, the new Arctica is currently the largest and most powerful icebreaker on the planet. Full stop. No qualifier needed. It stretches over 170 meters and displaces more than 33,000 tons. Its modern compact reactors feed electric motors that deliver power on a scale previous generations couldn't dream of. But what makes it truly next level is the engineering intelligence built into its hull. The Arctica uses a variable draft design. It can literally adjust how deep it sits in the water. Deep enough to handle the open Arctic Ocean. Shallow enough to navigate the mouths of Siberian rivers. It can also shift water ballast to physically press down harder on stubborn ice. Russia's goal is audacious. Turn the northern sea route into a year-round shipping superhighway between Europe and Asia. A route that cuts weeks off the journey compared to sailing through the Suez Canal. The Arctica is the hammer that will crack that route open. And it's only just getting started. Number 9. There are nuclear aircraft carriers in this world, and then there is everyone else. Only 2 nations operate them. The United States and France. The Charles de Gaulle is the French Navy's crown jewel. Its reactors free it from fuel dependence, allowing it to project air power anywhere on Earth without needing a single foreign base. Its steam catapults, so similar to American design that it can theoretically launch and recover U.S. Navy aircraft, give it the ability to operate Rafale fighters and early warning planes in ways that ski jump carriers simply cannot match. Its birth, however, was anything but graceful. Delays, budget cuts, a propeller that broke during testing, and most embarrassingly, its angled flight deck was discovered to be too short for its own aircraft, requiring an awkward extension to be bolted on. But the Charles de Gaulle overcame its rocky start. It has flown combat missions over Central Asia, North Africa, and the Middle East. It has sailed as far as the Pacific. It represents something important: France's refusal to be a second-tier military power. In a world where only America operates nuclear carriers, France looked at that exclusivity and said, "Hold our wine." Number 8 brought the nuclear revolution to the surface of the ocean, not just beneath it. The USS Long Beach, commissioned in the early 1960s, was the United States Navy's first nuclear-powered surface warship, and it looked like nothing that had come before it. Its superstructure was a tall, almost rectangular block, flat-faced, studded with early experimental phased-array radar panels. It looked less like a warship and more like an office building that had accidentally gone to sea. But beneath that unusual exterior was a revolutionary capability: unlimited range. Freed from refueling, it could steam anywhere, stay on station indefinitely, and project power with a persistence no conventional warship could match. During the Vietnam War, it used long-range guided missiles to shoot down enemy aircraft at distances that seemed impossible at the time. And in the mid-1960s, the Long Beach joined an all-nuclear task force that accomplished something historic: an entire carrier group circling the globe without stopping once for fuel. Powered entirely by the atom, it was retired in the 1990s, its hull broken up. But the era it launched? Still very much alive. Number 7 forced Western navies to resurrect a word they hadn't used in decades: battlecruiser, because nothing else in the modern world was big enough to deserve it. The Kirov class, and specifically the Peter the Great, is the largest and heaviest surface combatant warship built by any nation since World War II. 250 meters long, 28,000 tons, fully loaded, powered by 2 nuclear reactors for unlimited endurance, with oil-fired boilers providing an extra burst of speed when needed. In the armament, it is almost absurd. Massive long-range anti-ship missiles designed to kill aircraft carriers. Over 100 surface-to-air missiles, rapid-fire close-in guns, torpedoes, a large-caliber gun, its own helicopters. It carries hundreds of weapons across dozens of systems. A floating armory the size of a small destroyer fleet. The Peter the Great served as the flagship of Russia's Northern Fleet for 40 years. It was built for one specific purpose: to hunt down and destroy American carrier groups. 4 of these were completed. The first 2 were scrapped. One is an expensive modernization. Their future is uncertain. But the Peter the Great remains, the last true colossus of Cold War surface warfare. A ship so extreme that the world has never built anything quite like it again. Number 6 carries the most destructive payload ever put to sea, and you almost never hear about it. The Ohio-class ballistic missile submarines are the cornerstone of America's nuclear deterrent. Each boat carries up to 24 Trident 2D5 missiles. Each missile can carry multiple independently targetable warheads. A single Ohio-class submarine carries enough destructive power to end modern civilization as we know it, and there are 14 of them, patrolling the oceans, silent, invisible, waiting. Their nuclear reactors give them one critical advantage: they almost never have to surface. They can remain submerged for months, their presence undetectable, their position unknown to any adversary. That invisibility is the deterrent. An enemy cannot destroy what it cannot find. The Ohio class doesn't fight wars, it prevents them. It is the ultimate insurance policy, a guarantee that no matter what happens on land, the ability to respond will survive. It is the most powerful weapon system ever deployed on water, and its most important day will be the one that never comes. Number 5. Imagine a submarine so large that it has a swimming pool inside it, a sauna, a lounge with potted plants and a pet bird, a vessel so massive that when it surfaces, it looks less like a submarine and more like a small island rising from the ocean. This is the Typhoon class, the largest submarine ever built in the history of the world. And it is not even close. At 175 meters long and displacing nearly 50,000 tons submerged. The Typhoon dwarfs everything else beneath the waves. The Soviet Union built it for one reason: to survive a nuclear-first strike. Its massive bulk could break through Arctic ice from below and launch its missiles directly from the polar regions, placing it just minutes from its targets. Inside its enormous pressure hull are two separate inner hulls running side by side, a submarine within a submarine. The crew lived in genuine comfort by submarine standards, because missions could last months. 6 were built. Of those, only 1 remains in limited service today. The others were dismantled after the Cold War ended. They were simply too expensive to maintain in a world that no longer needed them. The Typhoon is a monument to an era when nations built weapons not to use them, but to make sure no one ever dared. Number 4 is the most technologically advanced warship ever constructed. Period. The USS Gerald R. Ford represents a generational leap over even the mighty Nimitz class. Its nuclear reactors generate 3 times the electrical power of its predecessors. Power that feeds an entirely new launch system, electromagnetic catapults that replace the old steam-driven ones, allowing more precise control over every aircraft launch and dramatically increasing the sortie rate. It operates with a crew roughly 600 people smaller than a Nimitz carrier. Not because it does less, but because automation does more. Dual-band radar, advanced weapons elevators, an island superstructure repositioned for better flight deck efficiency. Its cost was staggering. Its early years were plagued with technical problems. The very innovations that make it revolutionary were the same ones that needed time to mature. But the Gerald R. Ford class isn't built for today. It's built for 2060. For threats that don't yet exist, conflicts that haven't yet started, and technologies that haven't yet been invented. It is America's bet on the future, and $13 billion statement that says, we are not done yet. Number 3. 10 ships, 5 decades, every ocean, every crisis. The Nimitz-class supercarriers are the backbone of American naval power, and for the past 50 years, they have been the single most powerful conventional military force on Earth. Each one displaces around 100,000 tons and stretches over 300 meters. Each carries around 5,000 people. Hospitals, chapels, post offices, gyms, shops. They are not just warships. They are floating sovereign territories, mobile air bases that can position themselves anywhere on the planet within days. Their nuclear reactors are designed to last the ship's entire 50-year service life with just 1 mid-cycle refueling. Effectively unlimited range, effectively unlimited endurance. When crises erupt, anywhere in the world, the first question American presidents ask is, where are the carriers? Because their presence alone changes the calculation. Enemies plan differently. Allies stand taller. 10 ships shaped the world for 2 generations, and the last of them is only now beginning to retire. That is a legacy that will never be matched. Number 2. The Cold War's most expensive answer to a single question. What happens when your enemy builds a submarine so quiet you simply cannot find it? The Seawolf class was America's response to the terrifying advances in Soviet submarine technology. Built to be faster, deeper, quieter, and more heavily armed than anything that had come before it. Each Seawolf cost over $3 billion at a time, when even America's defense budget flinched. It can dive deeper than any previous American attack submarine. Its speed underwater is classified, but is known to be exceptional. It carries more torpedoes and missiles than any attack sub in history, and it operates with a level of acoustic silence that makes it, in the words of naval analysts, a hole in the water. Only 3 were ever built. The Cold War ended, the budget collapsed, and the program was canceled, but those 3 boats remain among the deadliest, most capable submarines ever sent beneath the waves. They are the closest thing to a perfect underwater predator that human engineering has yet produced. Number 1. There was a moment in January 1955 when a message was sent that changed everything. 4 words. Underway on nuclear power, the USS Nautilus, named after Jules Verne's fictional submarine, had just moved under reactor power for the first time in history. No air, no fuel, no limit. Everything before it was a coastal weapon, a submarine that had to surface regularly, that was slow, that was vulnerable. The Nautilus shattered all of that. It covered over 1,000 miles, fully submerged, in under 4 days on its first voyage. It went places no submarine had gone before. And then, in 1958, it did something that sounds impossible. It sailed to the North Pole, not across the Arctic, not around it, under it, beneath the polar ice cap, in complete darkness. It reached the geographic North Pole and proved that the frozen Arctic was not a barrier, it was a highway. The Nautilus didn't just change naval warfare, it changed how nations think about borders, about geography, about the very concept of where power can reach. Every nuclear vessel on this list, every icebreaker, every carrier, every ballistic missile submarine exists in the world the Nautilus created. That is why there is no debate about number one. There never was.